Students, do you remember those days when we were going to school physically and having something to look forward to rather than looking at a screen for the rest of our days, for all of our days, just so that we can continue our education? I miss going to school face to face. Since the COVID-19 started to spread, the United States closed down most of their schools and forced their students to take online schooling to continue their education. I've only experienced taking one online class my whole college education, and for me that was already tough. I have a younger brother who his school closed down and transitioned into online as well, instead of closing down the school completely and for the whole semester and continue next semester face to face. Taking online classes during college should be an option, and it is an option for students to take, and it should not be forced upon students to take at all. It should be an option for them, not forced. And also, school should not force grade schools to be taking classes online because they may not have experience in it. So even if public and private colleges have that option, most students have only experienced face-to-face for having 4 to 5 classes on a day-to-day basis, and that's a really tough transition to take, transitioning into online. Schools should not force students to take online schooling despite the situation they are in, just because all students don't have the ability to succeed or do it. To begin with, I would like to discuss that most schools across the country have been forced to close down and move into online schooling, and this transition has affected so many people differently, and this is all because due to the pandemic. Most students, especially low-income students, are not getting the proper education they need due to having little to no internet connection or even technology at all. Students are having to look for ways to provide themselves to have proper Wi-Fi, having good laptops, or even having any sort of technology so that they can continue their work and their assignments online. A Washington Post article published in April of 2020 claimed that many families don't have the basic tools to provide for their kids who go to school and continue their education. Tools such as laptops and and phones and having Wi-Fi, and they're not used to having those things. Low-income students are the ones who are affected because they may not be used to using technology for their schoolwork. Also, most families are losing their jobs nowadays due to the pandemic and may have to cut off some bills such as Wi-Fi, internet connection, those sorts of things. Furthermore, there are many students who find it impossible to have internet connection because of the area they live in. Just this month, USA Today claimed that because the area that students live in, access to internet connection is expensive. And if they do have Wi-Fi, high-speed connection is not an option. So having online conferences or having to speak with your professor, it's not an option to do so due to the area they live in. Now that I've discussed how there are families who struggle transitioning into online schooling, I'd like to go over how forcing students to take online schooling can affect their grades. As a college student, I am terrified and I worry if I will be able to pass any of my classes because my school decided to transition into online. And many schools are offering the pass and fail option to students who are afraid that their grades will affect their education and the way they're learning, and that's understanding. Just last month, Forbes article posted that universities can have the options to do the pass and fail, but some students are not getting the proper education they deserve. Face-to-face conferences are essential because online meetings can go wrong. Access to tutoring and access to the library is very difficult to receive, And if a student uses the pass and fail option, it may not affect their GPA, but it can affect their transcript, showing that the student just used this option to pass rather than showing their capabilities of getting the proper grade that they deserve. And although the pass and fail option can relieve stress to students who are worried on falling behind in school, it still shows that they may lack in their education or they just use it as an excuse. There are universities who have professors that have no experience in teaching online classes, and I've experienced that personally. This may make it difficult for both students and the professors to continue their semester online. Now that I have covered that students like me can be stressed out about passing classes online, I'm going to talk about how taking online classes makes it difficult to learn the proper content that the professors are supposed to teach. After experiencing multiple online classes now, it is difficult to understand what I'm supposed to be learning because most of my professors don't hold Zoom conferences and they just post the lectures online. Learning from lecture PowerPoints is different from having professors explain the content face to face. I'm not able to learn from the professor's perspective or the audience or my classmates on their opinions and their questions because it's not okay online and it's very time limited. And if I do get confused or if I do have a question, I would have to email my professor, and it may take a day or two to get a response back. And although taking online classes is really difficult, the only good outcome that comes out of this is self-discipline. The Seattle Times article published last month claimed that online classes can work best for students who are organized and can be disciplined. So that's really not the best, but that's the only good outcome that comes out of it. Finally, I covered how it can be difficult to learn content online, and hopefully you can see that forcing students to take online schooling is difficult and challenging. Not all students have the ability to shift to taking school online and should not be forced because there are multiple factors that can affect the way to succeed in school. I hope that after the pandemic is over, we can go back to the way things were and continue taking classes face to face because online classes are difficult and we should have the option to do so. We should not be forced to take online classes at all. Thank you.